Welcome to Here to Be Human, a multi-dimensional soul. This is not just a podcast, it's a remembering. A space where soul meets skin and the sacred meets the messy. Where spirit is not something you escape into, it's something you embody here in this beautiful, chaotic, breathtaking human life. Each episode is a living transmission, a weaving of energy, truth, reflection, and remembrance, with questions for your soul, messages from beyond, and invitations to meet yourself in ways you've never dared to before. Whether you're walking through shadow or starlight, you belong here. I am Julie, your guide, your mirror, your voice in the void. This is Here to Be Human, and you are right on time. Your voice is not too much. It's not too loud. It's not too honest. It's you. And that is sacred. This is Here to Be Human, a multidimensional soul. And this is episode 9. Your voice, your truth, and you reclaiming expression without apology. So welcome back to the episode. I'm really excited. I've been getting some great feedback from you all. So I love hearing all of that. And I cannot wait to bring you more of these episodes as we move through this journey together. But before we begin, let's kind of look at a little bit of a reflective prompt here as we're getting into this episode. So I want you to take a moment here just to quieten the mind, take a breath in and out if you need to. And just ask yourself, where in your life have you swallowed your truth just to keep the peace? And where has your silence cost you your sovereignty? And just let these questions echo for a moment before we delve even deeper. Where in your life have you swallowed your truth just to keep the peace? And where has your silence cost you your sovereignty? And now as we move on to the podcast, so we're going to go into our first segment. So those who are new to the podcast, we have 4 segments. So, and our 4th one is we end the episode with a beautiful integration ritual. So let's kind of delve into this topic. So segment 1 is really about the silencing of the soul. So from an early age, we learn to edit ourselves. Don't speak unless spoken to, be polite, be agreeable, and don't make it awkward. And so we shrink. We twist our truth into something more digestible. We play small in the name of harmony. But each time we silence our truth to stay safe, we abandon ourselves and our soul. And our soul came here to express, not necessarily to please. So let's open up the space for spirit to speak into this topic for us. So our first question, and again, I encourage you to have a journal and write these questions out and see what also comes up for you, or always press pause and come back to these questions at a later date. So our first question, what does the soul lose when we trade truth for approval? What does the soul lose when we trade truth for approval? When we begin to, I guess trade is like such a strong word, because we don't really know that we're doing it. It's not necessarily a conscious thing that we're trading one thing for the other. We're just seeking approval. We're wanting people to validate whatever it is that we're going through, who we are, or whatever the person opposite us represents. That is who we are seeking that approval, a validation for. And when we, I guess, I would say more subconsciously, I really don't think that we do this consciously. I think maybe once you know that you're doing it, then yeah, it's a conscious thing. But I think we start off, and this is where the programming comes into play, where it's a subconscious thing where we're like, okay, so I want this person's approval, so I'm not going to tell them the truth about either how I feel or what I think about a situation or a particular topic. And what ends up happening is the soul begins to lose a sense of its identity. So when you came into this earthly plane, your soul has its data, its blueprint, whatever it is that you're wanting to call it. It has an idea of this is what you're here to learn. This is what we decided to do when we're here. It's all mapped out for us. How we maneuver through this map is really up to us. The soul already knows what you're going to do. The soul is like millions of steps in front of the human consciousness, that's for sure. And it does this to negate any further harm. So, like, when sometimes people say, "Oh, I think I went a little bit too far," and the universe has kind of put a block on like stopped me from going even further. That's really what I'm talking about when I say the soul is like heaps of steps in front to negate any real damage that you could be doing. When we're kind of, again, seeking approval or that type of stuff. And so what ends up happening is you do lose a sense of the human identity that the soul has programmed into you. So the more that you trade the truth for someone else's approval, it's almost like as if you veer off course a little bit, because the soul's like, hang on a moment. You need to speak up, or you need to be you, like, own your identity, own who you are. And by owning who you are, you will end up, I guess, evolving, elevating, all those really cool buzzwords. But ultimately, you learn and you grow and you become a better version for yourself, not for anybody else. You learn to deal with things in a more calm manner, or you see the bigger picture. But if we're constantly trading truth for this approval, the soul is recognizing that the human is losing a part of their identity that they've already built up until this point. And then if we're losing the identity that we've built up until this point, what ends up happening is we start to veer off, like I said, the path, the course that we're meant to be on. And you start to create an identity over here that is false. That is not true to you, not true to your mission, your purpose, what you came here to do, or what really it is that lights you up. And so that's ultimately what I guess the soul would lose, is the fact that, those parts of you is no longer shining. It's no longer allowing itself to grow at the pace that it was designed to if you weren't trading the truth for approval. And look, I do believe that we get to a point in our life where we stop doing this, we're more aware of it, or we catch ourselves in the moment of doing it, and it allows us to come back onto the right path that is for us. Sometimes it can take people longer. For other people, it can be really quickly to kind of, negate that shift in direction and come back to where you are meant to be. But ultimately, that is what the soul loses. It's a piece of the identity that you've already built, thus stopping you from continuing on that identity path and kind of creating this fake version of who you are just in order to please people. And that's kind of not what we're wanting to do. And it's a very big trait, I believe, when people talk about like astrological signs and things like that. Now, I'm a Libra, so I know a lot of people talk about like, oh, Libras are like people pleasers and la la la. And so what I'm trying to say about that is like you can use all the tools that are at your disposal, like astrology, tarot, all those type of things. If you're wanting to have a better understanding of what the general consensus or theme around you might be, and what are some of the lessons that you're here to learn, because this is definitely a lesson for everybody, but some more so than others. And I definitely know for me, speaking my truth, I always have. It hasn't always been met with, people wanting to hear it. But I think that comes down to the fact of being young and connecting to the spirit world. And that has really helped me speak my truth, especially when I'm coming to the point of like what we're talking about here about that trading the truth for approval. I will always wait for the right timing if I'm needing to speak to someone or into something, not necessarily related to my profession or the spiritual work, but if I'm conversing with someone, I'm very mindful as to where they are at and what they can receive. But that's not me negating my truth or trading my truth for approval. That is me speaking my truth in the face of what someone can receive. Because if someone can't receive your truth, and the reason I feel like I'm bringing this up randomly, is because I want everyone to understand that what I'm speaking about is when you are seeking that approval. But if you know that it is not the right time to say certain things, that doesn't apply to this. Sometimes we can't say certain things to people or during situations because if they don't receive what it is that we're saying, then it can create a larger problem. But again, we're not speaking because we want their approval. We're just picking the right time as to when to say certain truths, if that makes sense. So that's totally different. So I feel like I needed to kind of have that distinction so people don't feel like, well, hang on a minute, but like sometimes I can't say this to the person because they're not in a good way or they're going through something. So I'm not wanting their approval, but I'm wanting to speak my truth about a particular situation or would like to offer them advice. This is where we just have to use our discernment a little bit as to when the person can receive what it is that we are sharing with them. So again, very different to trading your truth for approval. So our next question to Spirit is, how does the universe respond when we finally choose to speak what's real? Now, and this can be applied to any situation, just like what I was saying before. Like sometimes we have to choose when we speak what's real. So if I'm using it in the context of how does the universe respond when we finally choose to speak what's real to someone where in the past maybe we were searching for approval from them, it would be more along the lines of a sense of doors opening up for you. So when you no longer need someone else's approval or you're not holding yourself back because you want validation, what ends up happening is you let go of the narrative of what it was that you wanted from this particular thing, like why you wanted this approval. And what ends up happening is you start to have revelations. You start to see why you were doing it. So the universe starts to give you those insights to let you know, actually, this is why you've been doing it. Because again, I really think it's a subconscious thing. And then once you've realized what it is, consciously you kind of pop it in your mind bank. So if you catch yourself doing it again, you can kind of pull yourself back. But ultimately, you get the lessons starting to come through, you get some revelations, and then doors start to open for you in the direction that you've been wanting to go the whole time. Remember I said to you before, like the soul loses a sense of its identity and it kind of goes down a different path where it shouldn't be. The universe will correct that path for you. So then that way you can move forward on the journey that you're meant to be on, because you're not You're not swaying from side to side for someone else's validation or approval. So that's kind of how the universe responds to you. When we're looking at it, how does the universe respond when we finally choose to speak what's real in general, even when we've been holding back from telling someone something? It becomes more the weight of the world shifts from you. So the heaviness that you've been carrying because you haven't felt comfortable to say something to someone. And again, it's not because of approval, you've just been waiting for the right time. What the universe does is it takes the burden off you. It almost like sheds a layer off the other person and brings a sense of peace amongst the people that are speaking, right? So, for example, if you're wanting to tell your boss about a scenario and just like that, this is what's real for me, in that moment, the universe opens up a sense of dialogue between the two of you. It creates a sense of peace, like I said, as if this weight has been lifted from you. And I do believe that if this was a scenario with your boss would have kind of sensed something was a little bit off. And even though certain people are not able to receive what you're wanting to say in the moment, that doesn't mean they're not picking up on something feels a little bit off. They may not know exactly what it is, but they will have an idea. Okay. And so I do think that, again, that sense of opening comes up, and I feel like it'll also open doors for you. I think it'll also open the door to either stay where you are, or to go down a different path. So I really do think that the universe opens up doors for us when we don't trade our truth for approval, and we do speak the truth, even though it might feel difficult at the time. It can actually push things forward in a really positive way for everyone involved, and especially for you if you're the one that is needing to deliver the information. So I'm going to invite you here to do a little prompt, like a journal prompt, or just take a moment here to reflect on this particular question for yourself. So where in your life have you been silencing what's true for you? And what would it feel like to voice it now? So again, this can be things that you've held back because you don't think the other person or other parties are ready to hear what you have to say, or whether or not you feel like you have been trading your truth for approval. So where in your life have you been silencing what's true for you? And what would it feel like to voice it now? Beautiful. And you can feel into that, come back to this, journal, pause. This, whether you're watching this on YouTube or whether you're listening to it audibly, and really kind of sit with that, because I think that's really important. You'll probably find, there's been many times, I think we've all had many times where we have not said certain things, where we have said things just to validate someone else or to gain approval from them. It's a big thing that I think everyone deals with, and it's not something that I feel that we can perfect or are going to be like, yeah, I always say certain, like, I'm always going to tell the truth and I don't care if it hurts your feelings and I don't need your approval. I don't like yes, there might be some people that are like that, but I think for the majority of people, this is something that will consistently come up, but we will be better at being able to really speak our truth and not dim our voice in fear of the unknown. Okay, so as we're moving on to segment 2, so this is called Expression is a Spiritual Practice. Yes, it is. So expression isn't just communication, it's creation. So every time you speak your truth, you realign with your soul. Whether it's saying no, naming a boundary, or admitting what you need. You're not just talking, you're freeing energy. Truth spoken aloud becomes frequency, and frequency reshapes reality, which is exactly like what we were just talking about. So, perfect segue into this segment. And I'll even ask you to, when you get a moment, maybe in your, write down one of your own experiences, where you've had moments where speaking your truth changed everything. So, a lot of the times we talk about the things that have happened that have created more of like a fear within us. What about the moments that you did speak your truth and you changed everything and it was really positive and it was, things just flowed and you felt like, okay, I should have done this ages ago and I'm so glad I did it now. So, write in your journal if you would like some of the moments where speaking up has really changed everything for you for the better. And I guarantee you, I'm sure it would have been for the better, even if in the moment it felt a little bit tough. Okay, so let's listen for what Spirit wants to add to this awareness. Okay, so our first prompt or our first kind of question to Spirit is, and again, you can do this with me, what activated within the body and field when truth vibrates through the voice? What is activated within the body and the field, our energy field, when truth vibrates through the voice? The thing that actually, it's interesting, the thing that keeps coming to me when I ask that question is I feel like there's a part of our DNA that is activated. Now, this might sound really random, but I'm just going to go with it because it's what's coming through. To me, I'm seeing like sacred geometrical patternings happening. It feels like there's almost like this recalibration in the body. Like that's kind of visually how I'm seeing it. And think of when a transformer, Transformers, more than meets the eye, that one. Anyway, that's my singing voice. So, when a transformer kind of goes from one version of themselves to the other, that's kind of what I'm seeing happening within the body. So I feel like what gets activated is a shift in your DNA or biology. I feel like from that biology, the cells begin to come alive, and so energetically, energetically inside you and energetically outside of you, and that signal that gets sent off into the universe. What then is happening is everything around you is recalibrating. So, when I was saying to you before about how the soul loses a sense of its identity when we don't speak our truth. So when we are speaking our truth, and I'll just stick with this and then because I feel like there's a second part to this, what ends up happening is it's like it signals to the universe, right, we can now go on to this part of the path. We can now step up to this step. If I'm looking at your path not being linear and straight, but your path being like a spiral of stairs leading up to the ether, it would be that you took another step closer on that spiral to the higher plane. So that's kind of what happens biologically. So something shifts. It's almost like you get this courage. It's almost like as if I keep getting shown parts of any traumatic experiences, anything that's happened in the past that has shaped you to not tell your truth. It's like those start to break away from you. And then energetically, the universe hears that truth and begins to align you to take the next step in your evolution, so to speak. What happens in the voice, though, what the other person hears, there's a frequency that takes shape that comes out of your voice box. The other person hears it, and so the soul of the other person feels into your truth. And if that person is open to hearing what it is that you have to say and is holding you in a space of love and care, then something will shift within them. It's like it'll recalibrate also an aspect of their life where the DNA gets set off, the biological aspect of them gets set off, their, bits of their trauma break away. So what's happening to you is also happening to them. Again, if they're ready and open to holding that space for you. Now, it may not happen in the moment, but it will definitely happen a bit later on, because again, they will hear the frequency, and that frequency of your voice will stay within them internally. And the moment they process it and they lock it in, then everything shifts. So you already are shifting into that space because you're the one who's speaking it. And if they are, more aware and more evolved, you'll see kind of the shift within them in the moment. But if they are needing time to process it, they will go through what you are going through in that moment of you speaking at a later stage. And then they'll be like, oh my God, like what they said was like, that hit home. Does that make sense? That's kind of how it feels. And that's what's activated in the body. You get to take that next step on your spiritual evolution. Something shifts within your body. Parts of like traumatic experience release from you, but the same thing happens to the other person. Oh, that's exciting. Maybe that's why I always like to tell the truth. It's probably the Libra justice in me. Anyway, well, my truth in the moment, that's for sure. Okay, so our next question to Spirit is, how does consistent self-expression strengthen the soul's alignment to purpose? Interesting. How does consistent self-expression strengthen the soul's alignment to purpose? I feel the more that you express who you are, the more that you live your life in a space where you are very well aware of the things that you like, the things that you don't, you're more aware of everything around you. That strengthening to the soul's alignment to its purpose, it will come in the form of the right people coming into your life, the right opportunities presenting themselves to you, and it will help you along the journey to maintain and stick to your purpose. I feel like there's not, there's one overarching purpose for everyone, and that is to be of service and to learn unconditional love. So we know that. But as individuals, we have a purpose, but we don't have a singular purpose. We have multiple purposes along our path. And it's almost like playing like a video game. Once we're following this particular line, this is my purpose. I feel like I need to do X, Y, Z. And then we get closer to it and we start to realize like, oh, okay, like I feel like I've reached that level, or I'm about to reach the level. And it's like, well, I feel like this is more aligned with me. This is where I'm going because I have now changed. That's what I feel that consistent self-expression will strengthen for you. It will help you align with the overall purpose that you're here for, but it'll also help you align to see when it's time to shift from this purpose to the next purpose to the next, just because it's all about your learning, right? Like our purpose here isn't like we achieve it and we're done, tick, 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 off we go. It's not about that. We have levels of purpose to reach and get to help us to the next part, because everything is helping us evolve. That's what this is all about. It's about the level of evolvement that comes the more that you are consistent with your self-expression in the world. So I'm going to invite you now for your own prompt. Again, you can journal or just see how it lands with you in this moment. And the question for you to reflect on is, what truth inside you feels ready to be spoken out loud? So that is, what truth inside you feels ready to be spoken out loud. And now, as we move on to our third section of the podcast today, it is you don't need to be polished to be powerful. Amen. So, there's no need to polish your truth to perfection. Your truth doesn't need to be pretty, it just needs to be real. An authentic expression is raw. It trembles, it stumbles, it can come out messy, but it's alive. And it's that aliveness that is the medicine to what is received by you and by whoever you are speaking to. And when you speak before you've edited yourself into acceptability, something sacred will happen. You will meet yourself in your own sound, your own frequency. And so, as we ask our last question to Spirit, what does Spirit want to remind us about the sacredness of imperfection in our expression? And again, you can sit and channel this as well with me if you'd like. So, what does Spirit want to remind us about the sacredness of imperfection in our expression? The more you express yourself authentically, you will tap into ancient wisdom, ancient frequency, even though your words may not sound from a million years ago. You are tapping into your past lives, your ancient lineage, all the wisdom, everything that you've gone through. And what will end up happening is you will release something that you have been bringing with you into your future lives since the moment of either the conception or since the moment of whatever that lesson or learning or trigger was or trauma was back whether it was 100,000 of years ago or millions of years ago. So the more that you express yourself authentically, that frequency in your voice, in your DNA, that level of sacredness allows you to tap into that innate wisdom that's within you. It allows you to clear past life, either traumas or lessons, or just kind of like it shifts the dial within you, not only for that, but also to allow you to realize that you are strong and that you are courageous and that your voice and you matter. And I think it's also important while we're talking about ancient times and past lives, you've been here before. Not in this particular incarnation, but you've been here before. You can do this. You've done it thousands of times. You can do it again now. So if you're ever in doubt or if you're ever in fear, even though in this lifetime there might be situations that you haven't spoken your truth and this might be the first time you're doing it, like really expressing yourself, just remember, one time in ancient Rome in the 1700s, you spoke your truth. You did it then, and you can do it now. And if you hold that, that might just be the thing that you need to be like, yeah, I can do it again. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what's going to happen afterwards, but I did it before and I'm going to do it again. So your reflection point here is, where in your life could you let go of needing to sound right? And instead, I want you to sound real. So where in your life could you let go of needing to sound right and instead sound real? And as we move into our integration ritual to end this episode today, this ritual is called I Speak as I Am. So I want you to place a hand gently on your throat and feel your breath move beneath it. So placing your hand gently on your throat and feel your breath move beneath it. And now speak aloud, slowly and clearly. My voice is not too much. I do not need to apologize for being real. I honor my truth, even when it shakes. My words are sacred. My voice is alive. My expression is allowed. I speak as I am. Now let these words settle into your bones. And while you're in this space, ask yourself, if I were completely honest right now, I would say, and just speak into whatever it is that comes through. You don't need to edit it. If I were completely honest right now, I would say. And you can say it out loud, or you can journal it later on, or in this moment. And staying in this energy as we close out this episode. You weren't born to be quiet. You were born to speak the frequency of your soul. And in our next episode, time, choice, and the sacred spiral, remembering you are not late. So until then, say what's true, say it out loud, and let it set you free. Thank you for being here fully. If today's episode stirred something in you, if you have a follow-up question, a reflection you'd like to share, or a way this conversation aligned with where you are right now, I'd love to hear from you. And if there are specific questions you'd like me to ask Spirit in future episodes based on what's coming up for you, send me a direct message at here.to.be.human.podcast on the Instagram page. Remember, your voice, your questions, your presence, they're part of this journey too. And if you'd like to connect with me more deeply, you'll find everything, sessions, programs, and updates over at www.moderndayMedium.com.au or on my Instagram page, which is at modern.day.medium. This is your invitation. This is the return. And this is what it means to be human. So until next time, stay with yourself, stay with your soul, and keep choosing this sacred, messy, and miraculous life.